My personal favorite TV show currently running is The Boys, an incredible dark humor take on the question, what if the Justice League were jerk faces? And we've received 3 amazing seasons of The Boys, and now we have received the first season from its spin-off show, Gen V. Does this show hold up to the high standards set by The Boys, or is it just a fucking disappointment? This is Last Page. I don't recall if this is issue 28 or 29 of Last Page. I think it's 28. My brain has ceased working. So issue 28 of Last Page. Thank you all for joining us very much. Joined today across the oceans of the internet, Jason Cedars, and of course, Rembo. And we're going to talk about Gen V, a highly anticipated, at first when it was announced at this show, which takes place, and I'll just go straight off the IMDb description. It says, from the world of The Boys comes Gen V, which explores the first generation of superheroes to know that their superpowers come from Compound V. These heroes put their physical and moral boundaries to the test, competing for the school's top ranking. Essentially, a dark rated R, a young adult themed show where it follows these college kids and their exploration of their abilities. At first, the idea of this show, I was like, that show just sounds lame. Why would I care about these college kids? But then the trailer came out, and the trailer sold me. I was like, oh my goodness. They're capturing the violence, the tone. It feels like The Boys. I'm like, I'm all in. I went from not caring at all to completely being all in on this show. And now we can all dissect and discuss of whether or not this show is worth your time or not. Jason, you watch Gen V. You like The Boys. You and your wife, my sister, introduced me. You forced me to watch The Boys. We're like, we're gonna pin you down and make you watch The Boys because you'll like it. And I did. Immediately sold. Watch for 7 minutes of The Boys. It'll sell you. You have the comics of The Boys. How did you like or not like Gen V?
I was extremely happy with the show because I think it was announced the show title was something different. I don't think it was Gen V. It was something like The Boys Varsity or something like that. I remember when it was first announced, it was like the varsity version of like The Boys. So we all kind of knew it was going to be like this training kind of school or whatnot. But once started getting into the show, it felt more like X-Men to me, like you compare The Boys being the Justice League or maybe like an Avengers, but I guess more Justice League as far as the characters. But this felt more like X-Men, and X-Men is about my favorite telling of the superhero story. Like that's what's just so badass about this show is it shows adolescents getting superpowers, and that's got to be the craziest time in any superhero's life is getting these powers and how you deal with them and the consequences that come out from using your powers too, because everything comes with a price tag, it looks like in the show. And I love that. That's great storytelling. That's lots of great scenarios that can come out of it. So I was very excited for the show and very pleased with how it all turned out. It's such a hero worship kind of franchise that The Boys is. It just shows about how much the world, which if our world did pan out like this one, I feel like it'd be exactly the same, as far as how we would worship these heroes. So I felt like this is a very good portrayal of it, once again, of what would happen to society if we all of a sudden got super powered people and how we would worship them. But yeah, no, I'm super excited about this and to talk about it and for many more seasons of this to come out and to follow a lot of these characters, because that's what really sold it for me was a handful of these actors in this that were extremely captivating, and that I honestly looked forward to the show every week. I was waiting for it to come out and see what the character arc of a lot of these new superheroes was going to turn out to be, and like which ones were going to come to the Seven or the Boys following after this, or are they kind of stay in their own kind of side story here. So yeah, no, excited to talk about it.
This show made me feel absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. I don't care about any of the characters. I think they're all terrible actors for the most part. Well, a range of meh to terrible. I think that the show has no real direction. I think that they just are telling the story that's kind of drawn out, and nothing really happens until the very, very last episode, at which they're like, all right, we're going to have this big, crazy finale that doesn't really make any sense, or makes very minimal sense. If The Boys is god tier television as far as characters, and originality and the setting and the stories. The Boys is a 10, and this show is a relative 3, a 4. Watching it episode after episode. I'm not like every other episode. I found myself hating something that happened, but overall, by the end of it, I wasn't like, oh my god, I hate this show. I just felt like nothing. I didn't feel any sort of reaction from what had happened. The only thing that I felt was a little tingle between my legs at the very, very, very end of the last episode because a certain beautiful human showed up, which we'll get to. But other than that, I feel like this is probably about the same quality as whatever that show that they made about John Wick universe. The John Wick universe show, the Continental. Thank you. I always want to say the concierge, the Continental. I feel like this is probably the same shit of just like, here's our IP. It doesn't fucking matter who we put in there. This is just John Wick, or this is just The Boys. You like it? And there are some things that I did like. There are some things here and there where the comedy really does hit in the Boys-esque way, and some great moments of violence here and there, of creative violence, but overall, the show is mid at best.
The first episode, I was excited when I saw the first episode. They do come out of the gates, shock and awe, and which is how I describe The Boys. There's just Boys moments. If you've watched The Boys, there are incredible violence, like very creative, Mortal Kombat kill-esque type of things that are just very creatively done. And this show opens up with one of those sequences, with the introduction of the protagonist of the show, Marie, who discovers in a very gross way, that she has the ability to control her blood when she first gets her period. And then all of a sudden chaos ensues when her powers kick in. So we'll slowly talk about the spoilers of the show as we go. But the first 10 minutes of the first episode is Marie discovering her powers, and then her parents busting into the room because they think something bad's going on, and then boom, it shoots, like blood shoots out, and it fucking pinholes her parents, and it was wild. You're like, holy shit, okay, that's The Boys moment. That's a crazy moment, and that's one thing that the show does carry over, is that there are those moments more so in the beginning of the show than towards the end, where it's like, this is very creative and very cool. But the problem is that it does lack the characters that you care about the way The Boys does. And The Boys has so many incredible characters. Homelander, Butcher, The Deep. All these crazy characters that once they're on the screen, you're like, okay, what's this character? What's he going to do? What's The Deep? Like, what dumbass thing is The Deep going to say? What maniacal, horrible thing is Homelander going to do? What Butcher's just going to charm his way out of a situation? There's all these moments. You're like, these characters, I can't wait to see what they do. And when this show, I'm just hanging out with characters that really are uninteresting, just kind of generic. And yeah, we'll get to the more finite details later. But Jason, the show is spearheaded by Marie. It's Marie is the main character. She's going off to Godolphin University. Godolphin is the Boys, the university for superheroes that turn 18. So did you enjoy her, or what other characters would you say that you latched onto and you enjoyed the journey of them, or did the characters not matter as much because it's The Boys and because of the spectacle?
No, I can see where you guys are coming from. The characters do take time to grow on you. I don't think we all liked Huey in the first season of The Boys. Huey took a long time to me to get along with. I remember like, this is the protagonist we're following, for this show. This is the guy we got to be around, So The Boys does take a little while. I mean, not everyone can be as charming as the Butcher and Homelander and we hated the Deep in the very beginning, and I guess it's a way I love hate with him as we are now. So I'm just saying, got to give these characters a little bit more chance, guys, because I really feel like there's some like quality ones in this, and Maria being one of them, and then Emma, I think is her name, is the other one, the girl who can get
Cricket.
small. Cricket. Like, I am really intrigued by those two, and I think those are the two that, well, besides Sam too, I think maybe those are the three, that I really, really was like interested in their character arcs and what they were doing, and what they really did well with this season. And I guess they've done in Boys in general, but they hit more home here, is that every power has like a sacrifice that you have to make to actually have the power. And it's so apparent with Maria and Marie, and Emma, where they're actually having to do something physically to themselves to make their powers happen. Where she's cutting her hand, to actually make her blood come out and to use it. Where that's got to fucking hurt, every single time she's doing this. And then Emma having to throw up, or Benjeet, to have these two power effects, which it just shows you that everything like comes with a sacrifice, and it's really cool to see these teenage girls struggling with it. These are problems that actually teenage girls have, cutting themselves and being bulimic and things like that. And so it's like having those issues that people normally go through and attaching superpowers to those, I thought was a very, very intriguing part of this series. And almost every single character in it has this very big confliction. Now, it does feel very Gen V, or like the next generation. And I think they nailed it with even the title on this, with how much of the show is social media related and how much of it is about Instagram's likes, follows, your selling factor of yourself is such a huge thing in the show. And I think Emma first introduced with that, where she is actually like filming herself or doing something with, is she fighting a gerbil or something, or a hamster? I think in like one of the first things to get like likes and things like that. And she's scrolling through the comments, and the first one that's positive, she ends up talking to him and hooking up with that guy later. It's like how much these people are obsessed with the likes that you get from the random people that see your videos and stuff online, is so like hitting the nail on the head with today, but now showing it with a kind of a superpower mindset. So it was so interesting. Every one of those characters that were at the college, you saw that. And then of course the Sam character, being like this person who was nowhere, around any of this stuff, and being kind of thrown into this world. So Remy, I was really surprised you took that take on the nothingness of these, because I thought it was like even more intriguing than some of the bigger ones that we've seen, like Noir or Starlight, or or even Homelander. Some of these is like crazy how much development we saw quickly in some of these kids.
I just feel I feel like I do really like I really like the social media aspect that they start the show off with, but I feel like they just lost it / gave up on it about halfway through.
It does
where
change.
Once they start driving more into the woods, then it's just like none of that actually matters. So it's like they kind of make it seem so important, and everybody's really focusing on this, but then it just kind of they just kind of ran out of ideas of what to do with it.
Or it's them changing their focus, that they were so hell-bent or focused on their social media presence, and now they're actually like, we have a mission, we have something that with defeating the woods, freeing these people, or something like that, is now they're kind of focused. So but you're all right, I didn't really kind of notice that till later. But then I missed Kate, like how Kate, like such these rogue Jean Grey kind of powers where she can, touch anyone. And I was so fucking intrigued by her the entire show. And the fact that she kind of becomes this villainous character, but in a way where you sympathize with her. And like, there's so many scenes with her being around people, and I'm like, man, she could manipulate them at any point and touch them and fuck with them. And come to find out, she'd been doing that the entire fucking time. But I thought it was so cool where this guy is like having a sexual relationship with someone who could like potentially wipe his mind like clean, and him being just like, fuck it, I'm gonna risk it, which ultimately does fuck with him. So it does lose a lot of that power. But yeah, it was these character arcs, and God, yeah, and Kate too. I forgot about how much it changes in her life.
See, I feel like Kate's the one that makes the least amount of sense. I feel like hers is so all over the place.
Yeah.
She's like, so she's in love with um,
Golden
Golden
Boy.
Boy, but cheating on him the whole time with Andre.
Wait, what
She's
was she,
being
or did
was
it
that
just was it cheating on him the whole time, or was it just a real quick flip as soon as he died?
no. That's the thing is there's like a reveal in one of the in when they're in her mind palace later. They
Oh, yeah,
which Mav, do you get that reference that I just made?
I don't.
Mind Palace.
That's Sherlock. Sherlock goes to his mind palace when he's
Ah,
from the BBC show.
Right.
He like accesses files in his head by going to his mind palace. Anyway, um, she, but yeah, so she's cheating on him the whole time with Andre,
oh, okay.
which but they're constantly saying how much they loved him, but clearly not that much. And then she's being manipulated to fuck all of her friends' brains, the guy that she loves with, and all of these other people. And then she has a change of heart to where she decides that she's going to kill the lady that she's been working with this whole time,
Well, and give everyone back their memories too that she taken. That
and
she
then
doesn't.
give them their memories, but then also then kill all the humans, every human at the school. That just like it's such a weird left turn leap that I think it's just her motivation doesn't really make sense to me. And then it's just like they just needed to give her something at the end to do, and they're like, all right, we're gonna make her the evil ish person. um
She
I
was very much a story, like a plot device. I feel like more than
yeah.
you explain it now, but yeah, it's a good plot device to be able to wipe people's minds and have memories that weren't there, but then having to explain why that character would do it. And
Well,
what going back to is like she was constantly getting manipulated herself too, so she felt like she was going to manipulate other people.
Well, but yeah, so it's they do the whole like wiping everybody's memory like as like a cliffhanger, but then it's completely resolved the next episode where they immediately figure out that their minds have been wiped. It's not like, oh, we have to like there's like this sharp change in the storytelling. It's like they go to stop Sam from killing evil scientist man, because for some reason they care about stopping evil scientist man, knowing what he did, knowing what they're doing at that point. They stop Sam, get their memory wiped, and then the next episode is them figuring it out in the span of that episode.
I got such Terminator 2 Judgment Day vibes when they go to kill the guy, and then they stop, and Schwarzenegger ends up showing him his arm, and he becomes like part of the team and stuff. I was like, oh, that's just like in Judgment.
The arc that they're trying to go for with Kate, it to me falls so flat because they're trying to give her a Magneto arc, but what Magneto, and if we just reference the first two X-Men movies, Magneto is an Auschwitz survivor. Literally, he's the guy that has seen the worst humanity you're ever going to see on how him and his people were treated. And so you can completely just from that. And then as X-Men 2 happens, and he has a human villain that is trying to wipe out humanity, it makes sense why Magneto, who's always just going blood for blood, pound for pound, to however he's treated, he's going to do that to his enemy. And it makes sense why Magneto would then try to target all the humans and try to wipe them out. Makes sense. Very well done. Kate just, and this is the problem with every single character in the show. And this is where the show stops being a great parody. Because, yeah, like Remy said, it starts off with the whole social media aspect and your brand and all of that stuff. But eventually the show just treats every single one of its characters as victims, which, if the masters of this, South Park, did hilariously perfectly, and they're in an episode recently where it was about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and their whole brand is being a victim, and that there's a company that then will set up your personal brand and whatever you're going to be, lumberjack, nice guy, victim. It's like everyone is a victim. And if you go down the character list, Kate to everyone else, it's not like with Homelander, they give him a sad backstory, like he's just treated as a piece of property. He's not like they give him that, but not at no point are you like, I can see why Homelander's wiping people out. You're just like, this guy's still a douchebag. Like this guy's still a bad guy. But Kate, it's like the show doesn't know how to be self-aware, which is what The Boys does so well. It's always so hyper aware of itself and then the world at large and how to kind of mirror both of those. But with this show, like if we go down the list, Marie, blood powers, killed her parents, victim. Andre, dad's a former superhero. His best friend dies, victim. Emma, bulimic, turns really small, victim. Like every single character, it's just like, oh, it's not their fault. Which you could have like a character or two characters, but when every single character at the end of the day, it's like it's not their fault. It's not their fault that they're not making good choices. It just, to me, this is where the show lacks, because the whole stereotype of Gen Z, which is not just Gen Z, it's really any young generation, whoever that might be, millennials, Gen X, whoever it is at the time. But really, the show just devolves into instead of being like aware that is happening, instead of the show making fun of the fact that everyone sees himself as a victim, it makes the characters are victims. And I feel like that's where the show just falls flat.
I mean, trauma and betrayal, like massive amounts of trauma for almost every single one of these characters. I mean, so it's hard to see anything else in that, like acting like a victim. I mean, like the ones you listed, I mean, all of them have gotten some fucked up either things happened to them or happening to them at the moment, where like Andre, every time he uses powers, his brain is actually fucking degenerating or going away. So he's got to actually now move forward through life dealing with that. Kate touching her brother and telling him to go away and never fucking come back. Like that she's living with that for the rest of her life.
Not her fault. Oh, I did a horrible thing. Not my fault. Oh, my parents were mean to me. I want to wipe all humans out now. It's just it's just not well written characters.
It's horrible shit happening to you, and how are you going to deal with that in the future? And yeah, some people are going to like use that as a vehicle to destroy the world or make it a better place, so it's kind of seeing how these people are dealing with that trauma, because I mean, shit, dude, no, every one of those is definitely victim-y, and you can cry the victim situations. I would definitely have to say that.
No, but that's the problem. Like that's their identity as being a victim. It's not like, wow, Andre's a really cool superhero who has a fucked up past, but it's really cool to on screen his presence. It's not that. It's like, oh, it's fucked up. What happened to this guy? It's fucked up. What happened to this person?
Hero. That's Magneto. He was a victim. It's just how that's a classic way of any superhero justifying or villain justifying what he's doing. This is just another satire on it, where every person had something shitty happen in their past.
But that's the thing. They're not satire. That is not part of the satire. The fact they're all victims is not a part of like the joke.
They spend a whole episode when they're in her mind palace. The whole episode is going through everybody's, oh, look how this horrible thing that happened to them. They go through Jordan, they go through Andre, they go through Kate, and then they go through Anne Marie. They go through all of it. It's just like, we're going to spend a whole fucking episode making everybody feel bad for the things that have happened to the super people, which is like... There's no range. You're supposed to feel just bad for everybody. Mother's Milk has a totally normal life, right? He has an ex-wife, he has a kid, he likes to go home to his kid, and he's caught up in this crazy world. But he doesn't have some crazy traumatic past. Even Frenchie, Frenchie's like his fucked up past is that he used to be an assassin. I think is kind of background. He used to do some bad stuff, but not necessarily.
He was like in a gang.
Yeah, so it's like not like some, he like horrible thing, and he's like a drug addict and he's like fucked up. But so Starlight starts off as a very innocent person, has her encounter with the Deep, but that doesn't just become her personality for the rest of the show. Is just the fact that she had this horrible thing happen to her from the Deep because he has 2 brain cells, and so it's. You get such a better range of stories and backgrounds. Whereas in this show, they literally sit down and tell you, hey, everybody here is a victim of bad circumstances, and this is going to be their personalities.
Okay, maybe the main people, but what the detective guy? Detective?
Thank you for bringing him up. Tech Knight, my name here on the thing. Oh, they can't see, but Tech Knight, the best character in the show, not even close. Other than the Cameron Coleman appearance, not even close. Dude, that guy, the fact that they brought him in and out in one episode is a crime. A crime. He was instantaneously like, captivating. Captivating is the word I think of when him. He was great. He was great.
So I mean, they're not going to get a hit out of all these characters. They got to throw as much as they can against the wall and see what sticks. So I know this is what this season is what's going to kind of work out, because they've got so many parodies of Fantastic Fours and X-Men's and all of the powers across the board in this. Which, I'd like the Invisible Guy's son being like the sex slave to the llama, or whatever, like just some random shit like that, like I really enjoyed them just exploring all of the superpowers and the fucked upness that they would, and the debaucheries that they would get into in a college scenario, like the party with her getting big and just like all of that sort of stuff that felt fun to see superheroes.
We do have to comment though, there is a serious discrepancy in the amount of boobs to dicks in this show. And this
boys though too. I feel like the boys had way more penis than it did boobs.
Maybe hindsight 20, or maybe I'm misremembering, but I would like to believe that somebody shows their tits in the boys at some point. Somebody does. I mean, there's a girl that fucking rides a dude's face until she breaks his head in half. That happened. Yeah. In this show, all the girls cover themselves up in situations that they would not cover themselves up.
I just rewatched the first episode, and when she is trying to figure out if she got enlisted into the university, she goes into like the internet room for the school, and one of the kids is watching porn, and it is actually the girl from not Homelander, but the other guy, not Golden Boy, the Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy, that he's going to her trailer.
Oh, the one with that's. Oh, okay.
That woman, she is the porn thing on there, or the porn video on
That's
it.
That's so funny.
Fully clothed to give you your point that they did not go the limits on that porn thing. But it's like little things like that in the show too that I love. That, oh man, the Scarlet something or other was her name. But yeah, a little throwback to that.
It really bothers me the state of media. I want more violence, more sex, more boobs, more cock. I want all of those things in more media. And if anyone's going to do it, it should be the boys or the team responsible for the boys making a spinoff show. But it is like ridiculous. You're seeing literal dicks get blown off. You're seeing the most gratuitous violence you could possibly imagine. And yet we have Cricket writing, what's his face?
Sam.
What's the guy's name?
Oh, Sam. But wait, doesn't he hook up with the other guy too? Doesn't Sam with Jordan? Doesn't Sam and Jordan? Or is that Maria and Jordan?
No, Maria and Jordan, which is, we'll get to that in a second. The most just nonsense, just makes no sense whatsoever.
But they're also kids. These are kids we're talking about, college kids. So how much are they going to really like show boobs?
They're college kids. They're blowing dicks off, Jason. Like, what are we kids gloving around here? They're adults. They're adults at college. And what do college kids do when they go to college? They do drugs and sex and like have fun. This show, it's like when Cricket is riding Sam and she has her bra on, I'm just like, I can't speak to everyone else's sex life, but like if a chick was riding you with her bra on, like just leave. Like, what are we doing here? Or they like in like the other scene, there's a scene where Jordan hooks up with Marie, and immediately they're covering up and putting clothes on. Or when Sam and Cricket are like cuddling right after sex, and she's like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." She has jeans on. Can you imagine having sex with someone and the first thing they do is run, put their jeans on, and cuddle with you? Like, guy or girl, like, go fuck yourself, you piece of shit. Like, how much do you hate me that you want to be fully clothed the moment that you orgasm? Like, what the fuck?
We've talked about this with so many other shows and movies and things, and how much is it the actress or actor versus the show or the movie or whatever? Is it like they are like, no, I'm not gonna do that scene with that Michonne, or and the writer's got to be like, all right.
There's the intimacy coordinator, the moniker of death that people always blame the intimacy coordinator that people have now, and there is an element of that. I don't know. My personal belief is that if you're an actor, and if you're reading for blank character and that character has a sex scene, you owe it to the audience to perform as best you can in, with all the protections and everything and all that great stuff, but to actually like perform a sex scene and not to just be like, well, I'm going to do a sex scene with clothes on, or you can only show my face. Like, then don't do the role. Like, I don't understand. Like, this is stupid. This is fun make-believe. This is supposed to be ridiculous sex and violence and all this crazy stuff in this very artificial realm just because it's entertaining. And we shouldn't be censoring it in the year of 2023 with the fucking internet. Anyway,
Agree.
Equal. I just want equal representation. I want an equal number of dicks to equal number of boobs. That's all I'm asking, and I feel like that's a very reasonable request.
We're not even saying vaginas. We're not even saying vaginas. We're literally that's what we're asking. We're asking for the bare minimum.
Ah.
I always think
anyway, so yes, the show has moments where it includes it has Homelander show up at the end. It has Soldier Boy show up at one point. Has the Deep have a brief cameo. But it's kind of the South Park parody. It is kind of the boys. You live long enough to see yourself become the villain. The boys is then doing the hey, remember Soldier Boy? Oh, I remember. Oh, remember Homelander? Oh, I remember. Like he shows up at the end and then just.
No,
and I'm supposed to freak out because they're like, "Oh, Homelander showed up." I'm like, "You're just dangling like, oh, it's Homelander. Remember him? He's cool."
They did not abuse the cameos in the show. Actually, I wrote that down. It is far and few between. It's like the very first episode, the very beginning, and the very last episode, the very end is the only cameos you get in this whole show.
But they don't make it. They don't contribute.
I mean, what's her name? The redhead Ashley, the assistant, right? To
she doesn't really qualify as a cameo. She doesn't matter that much. She doesn't matter that much. I do like seeing her. She is great. She's a great character.
She's great.
But actually, better cameo than her is the director. The director who's just so pretentious and so self-important and just like, don't touch me. And he's like talking shit to all the students. That guy fucking nails every scene he's in. He's so funny.
In The Boys.
Was that?
Yeah. He's the guy that bangs Ashley in the bathroom in the first part of of last season. He's like, they do the Dawn of the Seven, and he bangs Ashley in the bathroom.
I didn't realize that was him. Okay,
I mean, no, I love both of those characters. They're great. I love Ashley. She's great. He's great. But those aren't really cameos in the way that Homelander, Soldier Boy, and Butcher are cameos.
Dude, if you put Ashley's probably screen time minutes in The Boys, it's probably comparable to some of the major characters. She's a big part of The Boys.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. My point being, though, it wasn't like Homelander coming in and swooping in every episode, or the Deep on the TV in the background, or Noir giving a some speech in a classroom. They did not abuse those characters. Now, they brought some of the side ones in, and I love how they used the Senator being a big part of the bad guy throughout Gen V, being a huge bad guy as far as in The Boys, which I'm going to say right now, she is going to try to use Maria to kill Homelander. I feel like this is what we're going to do is Maria is going to join the Seven, and the whole thing is Maria is going to be able to kill Homelander, because being able to manipulate blood, that has got to be something that Homelander has no defense against. And she has exploding head ability. She showed that what's her name blowing Kate's arm just fucking completely off in the last episode means that she can do that to anyone in any part of their body. So it's like, oh shit, dude, this can compete on Homelander's level, which I thought he realized that. And that's why he blasted her and only her out of every fucking student in that whole fight. He's like zeroes in on him. He does the eye laser, which he miraculously comes out with no
it's like lightsaber wounds. Apparently you can just get a full radiation blast to the dome and it'd be totally fine.
But if she's cutting her hand every day, she's got to be able to have some healing abilities.
I'm sure she has some, but this is laser to the chest.
I know. I don't know if like a blood wall or something.
It coagulates so hard that it creates a shield against ultra heat.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like that, even though the leap to just the leap for them to be like, we can't trust anybody. Who can we trust? A politician. We can trust a politician with this. Somebody we've never met before. For sure, we can trust them with this.
Satire once again. The world is
again, I don't think they're intentionally doing it. I think it's lazy writing because they're like, we need this character to meet this character, and how she's just going to burst in. Terrible. A vice president nominee apparently has no security at all, and Marie can just walk straight in. Oh, yeah. She walks straight in. I got to talk to you. Oh, yeah. But I did like that we do the expanding of Newman's power. I did like that. Being like, oh, that's what she's doing. She's blood bending.
And
Like,
also, I'm going to say it here, like it's going to be 2024 election is going to be the whole basis of next season. They're going to parody what going on U.S. elections with the boys' election, her getting, kind of being that president and her being even doing some Trumpism kind of activities. Like I bet you that's going to be a very big focus of like the next season, because the fact that it's going to be coming out during an election year, like right at the same time, probably they're going to really heavily play into that.
I mean, I thought that they were already done filming.
No, they're done filming, but it is like part of the storyline going in at the beginning of the next season is Homelander on trial for lasering that dude at the end of season 3.
Right, yeah.
And that's very analogous, I would assume, to a certain presidential candidate that's currently under a bunch of indictments. Kind of probably would play into that to a certain extent, I would think.
But yeah, and her even kind of doing some like, let's storm the White House or something, take the vote or something. Like I feel like that's going to be very played into next season, and and her blood bending abilities and killing other politicians off is going to play into that well.
Newman does have JFK level security, to piggyback off what Remy was saying. It was just like just runs up on her in like the backstage, just like this lady that's like been a part of like this giant like. When people didn't know that she was the one popping heads, like she was a part of this whole assassination, you would think she would have better security. But yeah, is there anything, Rembo, or is there anything positive other than what we've already talked about? Is there a scene or scenes that you're like, you know what, that was awesome, that's something worth? Because I think ultimately, is this show worth seeing? Is it worth seeing if you've seen The Boys? Is it worth seeing if you haven't seen The Boys? What are some moments that you would highlight as being like, you know what, that was really good?
The first thing that comes to mind is the puppet massacre.
Sam.
The puppet massacre. Sam's puppet massacre was probably the highlight of the season for me. I thought was very funny and creative. I like it. It's similar. It's similar but different to the Black Noir seeing cartoons everywhere angle. But yeah, that was done in a very, very funny way. Just again, it felt like The Boys in that one of those like we would not be seeing this in this format anywhere else. Like watching puppets rip each other apart and then taking the hand and stuffing it down his mouth is awesome shit.
It's a very clever way of being very graphically violent without being very graphically violent.
Yes.
Like you kind of connect the dots in your head and be like, oh my God, if they were really showing that, I would not want to be looking at the screen right now.
Yeah, I think I feel like other than that, I mean, I will say other than Tech Knight, I mean, like I did really enjoy Tech Knight. I thought his powers were interesting. You didn't really get a full explanation, but you got the idea that his senses are super heightened. The kind of the detective threat that he possesses, I thought was interesting. But it's just kind of a bummer that they kind of sweep him out under the rug.
Hey, they let him come back to another episode, though.
I hope so. I mean, I hope they bring him back. I feel like he was such a hit, and I've never seen that actor before. I don't know who the fuck that guy was, but I feel like that was a character the kind of guy you bring back. I think, secondary to him though, as far as all of the characters go, I feel like Cricket does the best at being a real person and having a believable range. Her relationship with Sam is kind of it really peters out and kind of falls by the wayside for me at the end, just like kind of contrived problems. But other than the fact that Sam is just crazy and deserves to actually be locked up. But yeah, I feel like she was really, we would have been better off if the whole show was sort of revolving around her rather than Marie. But I don't know.
Yeah, I feel that same way too. Sam and Emma kind of stole the show for me. Those were some of my most memorable moments of the show. We're kind of centered around those two, and their character arc, and yeah, and really just Sam. Like I really was attached to her as far as I'm sorry, Emma, as for her powers, because like the whole throwing up thing and how her mom was with her, and then her figuring out binge eating had the opposite of it, and at the very end figuring out it was all emotionally triggered, that she got small without having to throw up at the very end. So now you're like thinking, okay, was this something fucked up that her mom just like put in her head that was the only way to do it, And so it's like, it's very cool to see a certain person's, develop their own powers in such a small kind of time frame, or understand them more. And a lot of people I feel like did that, especially Maria too, as far as her blood control powers. But most catfitting scenes definitely, whereas I think it was Goodman was Sam's name. And like, I really enjoyed that character and how fucked up in the head he was, and how fucked up you felt, with his situation, with his brother and his being in the woods and then getting out. And then, damn, dude, Kate, going up to Kate and being like, just make me not feel anything. I think that's the words that he says. And like, just so he can murder people and go around and feel no remorse about it. It's like, holy shit, for someone to get to that point where it's like, just let me be a loose cannon. Let me just do all this and have no regrets, sort of thing. So I like how those two, were at such crazy points, and then got together where they're, at that pizza store hooking up for, felt like days or weeks or whatever, and then go back on these very separate paths. I thought was a huge part of the show for my interest from week to week. So yeah, that was memorable characters for me, definitely.
Their relationship to me starts off strong because they seem like they do have chemistry, and I buy their relationship. It gets to a certain point where Sam is such a menace that it's like this. No, you guys should not be going to bat for this guy. This is a bad dude. Clearly a bad dude who's too fucked up to come back from. But like I mentioned earlier, Marie and who's the changeling?
Jordan.
Marie and Jordan's relationship is so poorly handled.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. I forgot.
You could have, the first time they meet in the first episode, and there's like Jordan just doesn't care for Marie when Marie's trying to get a meeting, and you could start the sexual tension there, where it's like, just that, back and forth, and you can kind of get like, some charm or something that you're like, oh, okay, they kind of get along together, whether or not Jordan is currently a man or a woman in that moment. And you could have built that, but it's just like all of a sudden, like episode 3 or 4, it's just boom, they're in bed, and then they're like, they shoehorn
it's not
like
even that early. I think it's like 5 or 6.
Yeah,
it's a little bit later.
Okay, so yeah, it just never at any point is it like these two characters seem like they're getting along. It's just happens. I just felt like it was so poorly handled. You could have introduced sexual tension early on, and that would have permeated and been like, oh, are they going to hook up? They're going to hook up. They're going to hook up. But at no point are you like, are they going to hook up? They just do. And you're like, oh, that's out of left field. I guess we're just going with that.
One thing I didn't like, they never really explained Jordan's powers, and I had to actually like do research to figure it out. It's so the girl has like fire powers or some like projectile powers, and then the guy is actually like invulnerable or strong or something to that degree. And they never say that. It's like, why is she switching between the characters and fights? Why would you just stay one or the other? So I like that later once I figured it out. That was the reason why, but they should have done a better job explaining. But the classic Chinese parents with wanting the one male kind of thing and the whole stuff. I'm like, okay, and it being the transgender kind of topic that we're all talking about now, I felt like a lot of that was like a little bit shoehorned into it more than I wanted it to. I mean, it's a relevant topic and it's nowadays, but it's just like, you're cramming this down our throat a little too hard, man. Come on.
I did like that. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole too much, but I like the aspect of Jordan's powers and the ability to change back and forth, and I like the concept a lot. But then it did again just go to the like, oh, my parents don't like me because I'm trans or bigender. Bigender is what they say. So by the end of that, it's kind of just I kind of ended up losing interest in it, I suppose.
It didn't define. You're right, Jason. It like the show could have made it just like a video game, because the Jordan's character feels very video game mechanics, where it's like you use these powers and then you change to this character, or this, like, you can change your form, to be the stronger, bigger version of yourself, and that has bigger, like, strong moves. And then they did not do a good job, because I was just as confused as you were, being like, what's the difference? And it felt like it could have been very easy to define. Oh, I go to girl mode when I need to be like fast or use, speed powers. And when I go to the boy, I'm stronger and I'm more aggressive. It could have been a lot better handled. And I feel like the actor playing Jordan's actors did great job, like, kind of defining the same character with two different actors, but the powers aspect of it just was very vague. And it was just like, it was not greatly conveyed, unfortunately.
And this is the downfall of introducing 100 characters within 8 episodes, and so, like, boys, we've gotten stuff fleshed out over 30, 40 episodes now, so we feel like, so is it just the tip of the iceberg we're seeing with all these characters, and then seasons to come we'll get that fleshed out more. So yeah, I understand the struggle of it, but that, with as many characters they introduce, with only a couple of them falling flat like that, I'll let it slide this time.
So, recommendations, ratings. I typically don't rate TV shows, or like one season of a TV show, but I think you can throw out a rating if you want. Jason, you said you enjoyed this show. Would you recommend? What kind of star rating would you give it?
Well, you guys have not whittled me down. I came into this positive and enjoying the show. And I thought both of your opinions would make me leave this being like, oh yeah, that did kind of suck, or that did. But you guys always remind me that my bar is very low for my entertainment. I just go in, and if this pleases me for if this pleases me for the next 28 minutes, it's done its job. I forget about work and life. So 8 out of 10. I enjoyed this. It definitely had a lot of downfalls, but I love superhero shit and violence, and now in a college different setting rather than kind of the real world, I thought was a refreshing kind of look on this whole genre. But I really enjoyed it, and I like what it did, as far as didn't feel like so much filler, that this did flesh out the world a little bit more. Like, we got to see a little bit more of what's going on in the boys' world, and it did a really good job of setting us up for season 4, which I didn't feel like we needed to. There was enough kind of going on as far as Homelander and his son and the senator and stuff, but now we got the whole virus kind of thing introduced to this. So I thought it was a very kind of cool element, where this would be something that humans would be trying to do. They would try to cultivate a virus that would just kill superheroes, so, and that should have been a little bit more of the underlying plot of this whole show. Should have been about, this is what the Woods was secretly doing, and that the whole part of the show was that they are just creating this college to figure out this virus. That's all they did for this thing. So it didn't come apparent until about the last 5 minutes of the show, so I felt like they fell flat on that. But like I said, as far as setting up the next season, I think it's doing a really good job, and it's giving us a boys fix until whenever next year. Like you said, there's no determined date on when season 4 is actually dropping, so it's boys stuff, and I had a good time, and I recommend it to any boys fans.
That's my rating today. No 110, just right here. We're sitting right here.
You did come in, yeah. So that's the meh right there.
Yeah. It's there was definitely. I didn't go into it with high expectations, but I thought it had a good start, and then just kind of lost its way as it went. So, kind of, which bummed me out a little bit more. But I think. Would I recommend it? No. I don't feel like it felt like it was separate enough to where when you watch the next season of The Boys, any little details that you need filled in will be filled in. So, like, Victoria will now have the virus that she's plotting with or whatever. We'll see how involved that virus is in this next season. I feel like that maybe that something comes up towards the end of the next season. I wouldn't anticipate that it's going to be like that right out the gate, but I don't know. So yeah, for right now, I think you don't need to watch this show. Wait until maybe season 2. Anyway, point is, give me The Boys. I need The Boys. I need Dune. I need The Boys. It's literally the only 2 things I care about coming out in the next 5 years. I just need those in my life. The actors' strike is over, allegedly, essentially, as of today, as of this recording. They came to an agreement. I don't know any other details other than that sounds good for me. So give me The Boys. Give me it in the first half of the year, please. I don't want to have to wait until the second fall or winter of next year. That would suck. And they even announced Grand Theft Auto 6. How about that?
Yes. Well, the trailer is coming out.
They announced that the trailer is coming.
I know. I was like, what? That says it all right there.
The show started. It started promising, and it has those moments of great violence that I appreciate. But by, I don't know, right around midway through the show, it became like, fuck, it's Thursday night. I have to watch. It became a chore. Like, it became like I was not looking forward to the last 4 or 5 episodes, especially after the one where they spend all the episode in Kate's head. That episode was such a drag. I mean, god damn it, that was a bad episode. And I will say, positive things about the show: the moments of great violence. Tech Knight really needs to come back for Boys season 4, because that dude, and I probably won't be in there because we probably didn't realize what they had by the time they filmed. Season 4 has already filmed, and they probably didn't realize, but like, he's a great character that would be an awesome, and you can see how they could use him. Like, maybe Homelander uses him to figure out things, or maybe, the Boys recruit him, and it was like, strange bedfellows. There's a lot of really creative ways you can use Tech Knight. Not a lot of really creative ways you can use anyone else, other than just being extra characters. Emma is the best character out of the main group, because, like Remy said, she is the most human and realistic of everyone. But generally speaking, am I like, oh, I can't wait to see any of these characters in The Boys other than Tech Knight? No. Like, I could have season 4 of The Boys and not need any of these new characters they introduced. It is unfortunate, because I was bored out of my mind by the second half of this show. So I really can't recommend the show. You could probably just go to YouTube and find the clips of the moments that people care about, of like, the blood explosions and all of that craziness.
Or find this show on YouTube to, catch up on all of what happened during the season.
100% like and subscribe and like. If you just need us to tell you whether or not to watch a show or not watch a show, you can be Jason and just go into it happy and healthy and enjoy Hollywood and what they're giving you, or you can come down to Remy and I's level and really have a bone to pick. If you're gonna watch anything,
and hate everything that comes into your eyes.
Listen, don't watch this show. Instead, watch Into the Panderverse by South Park on Paramount Plus. The new South Park special. That is the best entertainment that's been released this entire year.
Easily.
I heavily recommend the Panderverse of South Park, and that's last page. Oh no, that's the wrong motion. My arm hurts. I can't do it. Wait. Ah!